bow. Marcus, you can go ahead and open us up. Players pop.
Boom. What's up, familia? Happy Saturday. It's good to see everybody on. If you can and you're able, turn on your cameras. I'm excited for the discussion as we continue talking about the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell. This book has been crazy so far. I think it was right on time. It's actually wow. Good call, Mr. Steele. But genuinely, y'all, a lot of the principles and the lessons the discussions that we've been having over the last few weeks, I know have been really impactful in my journey as well as in my actual process as we take continual steps forward on our own paths. I've been chopping it up with certain individuals too, and knowing how these lessons are helping out in their circumstances as well. It's been impactful, so I appreciate y'all showing up first and foremost for yourselves, and then for the actual community at large because whenever you are able to connect further and discuss more in depth, you have a better understanding of what it is you're reading, right? You get different perspectives. Sometimes, we don't really necessarily touch on this at the very beginning, but I want to remind everybody that like what you're doing is extremely significant and it's causing repetition to be a part of what you do and who you are, and it's helping you take those next levels. So shout out y'all. Always going to give y'all your flowers for actually pouring into yourself. And I'm excited to see how this like literally compounds y'all's efficiency, compounds y'all's leadership, compounds y'all's progression as we all continue fighting the good fight together. So one, I just want to give y'all gratitude, give y'all some props because um, sometimes we might think that what we do is not as significant as it truly is. So kudos to y'all. Kudos to this space. We are covering chapters 10, 11, and 12. And boom, I know last week we had a great discussion. I'm gonna keep our segments to about 5 minutes apiece. You don't need necessarily 5 minutes to talk about the whole thing, but just so that we can move efficiently and talk about some things, just know I'll give you a 5 minute, a little emoji clock in the chat, and that'll give you your time. But I'm excited. Whoever wants to open up the floor and discuss first, you got it. We appreciate y'all. And then, as a reminder, just popcorn.
I'll get us started. Let's go.
My guy. Appreciate you,
All
bro.
right, let's start with 10. I'm gonna start with happiness and unhappiness. In chapter 10, what was the name of it? The law of the rubber band. It says if you plan on being anything less than you are capable of being, you will probably be unhappy all the days of your life. That stuck out with me because you'll find yourselves a lot of the times you'll be doing something that you think that you enjoy, and then like a couple weeks pass, like you hate it. You're just like, I don't even know why I've ever even thought of like doing this, but that just tells you that like you need to be trying more things. And I feel like that's what I've taken from 10, 11, and 12 is the actually trying things that are out of your comfort zone, the things that you're not good at. It's easy to try things that you know that you can be relatively good at, but if you suck at drawing, go to an art convention and like participate in a drawing contest or something that you know that you're bad at, because that's the only time that you're gonna see, and that's the only time that you're actually gonna want to learn. When you're in a class, I've always noticed that like when I was in high school and stuff like that, when you're in a class and you're like a lot more like, I wouldn't say advanced, but you're just a little bit more understanding than other students that were in the class. Like you just understood things quicker. It's easy to like get off topic. It's easy to like clown around and things like that because you're not being challenged to that level. And it applies to your everyday life too. If you're not like challenging yourself on an everyday basis, you're gonna goof off. You're gonna do things that really fit your desires and your pleasures, and you're never going to stick to your discipline, and you're never going to really try to progress because you feel like you already accomplished in your subconscious mind what you can accomplish. And since you did that, Now you're unhappy because you're looking at life as in, okay, this is what life has to offer, but yet you didn't even offer yourself what life has. You see what I mean? Because it's a lot more than just what you contain yourself in, you know? So like that's what I mean by like you need to do more with your happiness and actually seek it. If you're not happy doing the things you're doing, just do something different. You know, like literally do something different. And then trade-offs, the law of trade-offs in chapter 11. I have always been more motivated by the possibility of success than by the fear of failure. That's what got me drafted into the Marine Corps. I'll tell you that. That's what got me re-enlisted because it's the fact that someone told me I couldn't do something. I'm like, you're gonna have to put your money where your mouth is before you tell me I can't do something because I believe I could do anything. If I had enough studying, if I had enough things, if I had enough learning, I have enough questions. It's constantly staying in student mode, you know? I know he mentions it more toward chapter 12, but he says that like you always have to be a student, be that new person because you don't develop bad habits if you always stay in student mode. You won't have to work in it. If you are more advanced and you're teaching somebody else, you also won't be like too egotistical to like learn things. You know what I mean? Even if you know the topic really well, there's nothing wrong with acting like you don't. Just because you might open someone else's eyes or somebody's teaching you, it might teach you something how to sharpen your edge a little bit. You know what I mean? If you think you're an expert on something, you're wrong. You're never going to be an expert on anything because there's always different ways to look at something. It just hasn't been discovered yet, or it hasn't been, what I'm saying, put in the forefront of somebody's mind to actually go for a different understanding in something, right? And then that having beginner's mindset, it has everything to do with your attitude. I truly believe that because in my subconscious mind, I will immediately know this is something that I want y'all to try to figure out too. Immediately know when your body and your mind tells you that you're not going to put effort towards it, and then figure out why. Because I can immediately tell you the moment I hear something come out of somebody's mouth, I'll call BS on myself if I'm going to do it or not. Because I just know myself. It's like you can't lie to yourself. I know if I'm going to actually read. I know if I'm going to take this serious. I know if I have something more else planned that I'd rather do. Like I just know myself. And with that attitude, you could either choose to stay in that lane or change it, and I'm in the process of changing it and not BSing myself, right? Of having that beginner's mindset in everything that I do because it's easy for me to like get ahead of myself and I need to sometimes slow down to like the beginner level and just remember how it is whenever I first got started, you know what I mean, and help people transition to the next step, right? And the last thing I'll leave it off with this is most people live inside the box instead of outside of it. They live in their limitations. Stop quitting before you try. That's the biggest thing, man. People love getting started and love instant gratification. And trust me, I was one of those people. But I promise you the journey is a lot more expensive, but it's a lot more, it teaches you a lot more. It's a lot more educational. You see what I mean? Like it's cool to get given $1 million, but how much cooler is it to explain how you made $1 million and the systems that you put together and the people that you got to meet and all these things that happened with making that $1 million than just giving it to you and be like, yeah, bro, you gave me $1 million. You know what I mean? I just feel like it's a lot more cooler. Like, yeah, bro, check out how I made it. Look at this. You know what I mean? It's just the story in it all. But yeah, that's what I've gotten from 10, 11, and 12 is just check your attitude, remain a beginner, and just know that there's always something you can learn, even from the most beginnerist people. You know what I mean? All right, let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and pop for my boy Mateo. What's going on, big dog?
What's going on, brother? Appreciate you. My man. Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day. Sun is shining out here where I'm at in Michigan. Gonna get some vitamin D today. Yes, sir. I got a lot of that in Florida, but I can never get enough, swear. Beginnerist. Yeah, Roshizi, literally. I was like, He just made a whole new word. I go crazy
Uh-huh,
this morning.
uh-huh.
I love it. I love it. Going from the top, because I do want to be efficient, like Marco said, is law of the rubber band. Once you're stretched, right? Once you're stretched out, can't go back. Once you're exposed, you can't be unexposed. And that's a very good thing. That's not a bad thing. That is so important. Quote I wrote down from that is growth stops when you lose the tension between where you are and where you could be. Stay stretched, comfort kills capacity. Another thing I've heard before is that growth happens when where you staying the same becomes more painful than changing. You have to find reasons. And I wanted to talk more about with you guys on this call because Jason said it and I was thinking it too from reading it. And like, I'm glad you said it, Jason, because now this is something that was like brought up that I can like talk about more. And that goes into, I think the second law is that being more motivated by the possibility of success than the fear of failure. I'm motivated by my anti-vision. You know what I mean? Like the vision that I don't want to happen. Like, for example, what would it look like if I blew all my funded accounts and I went broke and I'd have to get a job again? Like, I don't want that to happen. So that's motivating me to trade disciplined, right? Like, that being said, when the pain of staying the same is worse than the pain of changing, that's when change occurs. So you have to construct in your mind a way for you to be uncomfortable by staying the same more than it would be uncomfortable to change, right? I've heard a quote today too, not today, it was yesterday. And this was a really weird one, and I wanted to bring this up too because this reminded me of this chapter, is discipline wants it. Um, no, a discipline, what was it? It was discipline wants it, obsession like needs it or something, or like has to have it basically. Like I have to. Yeah, discipline wants to, obsession has to. That's the difference between like, okay, I'm gonna be a disciplined trader because I want to be profitable versus I'm gonna make sure that I know my strategy inside out, backwards, upside down, reverse because I have to be profitable and there's no other option. Like if I don't be profitable, I'd rather die than get caught breaking my rules and literally blowing all my accounts. You know what I mean? Like when you are exposed, you can't be unexposed. And I was literally talking to my mom yesterday about this. The person I am now versus who I was before I left for Florida, because like I'm back in Michigan after 3 years, my home state. I left to another part of the country, had a whole bunch of experiences that have literally permanently changed me. I'm not the same. And I could have never imagined how different I'd be now. Like I'm stretched beyond what I even could have possibly fathomed. And that's such a blessing. And at the same time, like now I kind of know what to do more to be able to stretch myself more, right? It's like your understanding of being stretched is now stretched, if that makes sense. So you have to like just take that into consideration and say, okay, if we really want to stretch ourselves to the next level, there's different things that have to happen, right? Like nothing changes, nothing changes. You got to do different to have different results. But keep pushing forward, right? In these chapters, because I don't want to keep rambling. Trade-offs, right? This is something I think a lot of people, myself included, take for granted sometimes. And this is a short story. I'm gonna probably spend a good minute on this and then go right to the next chapter. I called a person last night. His name is Nelson, business partner of mine. I'm trying to connect him with Mikhail and Marcos, honestly. I'm going to talk to you guys more about that. Hopefully you guys can meet him soon. He's a G, right? Certified GOAT. But I call the dude, right? And a different voice picks up. And I'm like, hello? He's like, hello, who's this? I'm like, Nelson? Or I'm like, Mateo, this is Mateo, right? He's like, oh, what's up, Mateo? I'm like, I'm looking for Nelson. Is this Nelson? He's like, yeah, this is Nelson. I'm like, this does not sound like the Nelson I know. And it's actually a different Nelson. This is like my like college friend who I haven't talked to in like 4 years. And he just happens to be named Nelson too. And apparently he got saved under the same contact as my business partner somehow, which is weird because I talked to my guy Nelson like every other week damn near. So I don't know how his contact got mixed up. And I was looking at my Nelson's profile picture on the contact, and a different Nelson's talking to me, and it was weird. But I ended up catching up with this dude after 4 years, and it turns out he's a level 2 like professional ski instructor. He can ski in like the Swiss Alps and Chile and South America, and like he gets paid thousands of dollars to be able to certify, like train people to ski. And it's actually crazy. Like he could literally go, he's like a very like when you talk about being a trader for 10 years, that's like him but skiing. And something that he told me, and this is something that I'd love to like talk more about outside of book club, is that there's two ways he said that you can ski. You can ski on the balls of your feet, right? Like you got your balls of your feet. Just like if you were to jump down from a high surface, you land on the balls of your feet. Or if you jump up, you're jumping from the balls of your feet. Or if you're skiing, you can also ski on your heels. Just like if you're doing a really heavy squat in the gym, you're pushing from your heels, right? With that force. So there's two different ways to ski. And a lot of people in their older, like some people, bro, are literally like 70, 80 years old skiing. I didn't even know that you could do that, but if you're a healthy person, you can ski in your old age. And you best believe they're skiing in the most efficient way possible. That requires the least amount of force that is like efficient. And that's how they ski on the balls of their feet. But a lot of younger people that are in their like 20s and 30s and they're like prime, right? And they're really good at skiing still, they ski from their heels. And there are certain trade-offs that come with each. So you and that really like stuck with me because I'm like, damn, there's people out here who are skiing on their heels and there's people out here skiing on the balls of their feet. Jason said, I was falling down the hills in Colorado. That's wild, bro. Oh yeah, I've fallen down the hill skiing before. It took me about twice and then I was done because I was like, I like my life. Like it's not for the faint of heart, bro. You cannot mess around skiing, bro. It's crazy. But yeah, he's in Montana, so not far. Fell down Buck Hill and I was like, yeah. No, literally, I was snowboarding though. Yeah. Skiing's crazy because you got 2 feet in different like pieces of, yeah, it's crazy. But basically, trade-offs, when you're trading with a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, for example, you have to trade the fact off that you're not going to make a lot more than you risk. Like you're literally going to make what you risk, damn near. But if you risk 1 to 5, 1 to 4 RR consistently, you're probably not going to win as much, but you're probably going to catch some bigger profits. So you just have to consider like your strategy and your trade-offs. And that's just not trading, that's everything in life, right? There's trade-offs to waking up at 4 in the morning, which I've tried to do before consistently, and there's trade-offs to waking up at like 7. You get 3 hours more of your day if you wake up at 4, but you're going to be more tired. And does that equate to a better life, a better day if you're more tired like that? Depends on the person. I can't get up at 4 in the morning consistently every day and just like make that my like life. At least not right now, because I needed to have a more like, bless you, Jason. I can see you're wheezing over there, bro.
Thank you, bro. I'm getting tore up.
Yeah. But yeah. Oh, she said skiing's a lot easier to me. I love it. Used to be in a ski club. That's fire. Yeah. I mean, trade-offs, that's the biggest thing for me. And that's just something I wanted to bring up because it was literally a chapter. And then the law of curiosity. Growth is stimulated by asking why. You guys can probably talk more about this too, Marcos. I'm definitely done after this in like 30 seconds. But I had one person who was talking to me a lot this week, because it's Saturday, so this week, um, and was asking me about trading, like wanting to get involved. But it got to the point where he was just asking questions to be a freaking philosopher and just like not even like trying to get informational answers to take action. He was just asking to ask like a freaking toddler. And there came a point where he asked me, "Well, yeah, you've been doing it for a while, right? Like, what makes you so confident to keep going?" And I'm like, "Bro, you ask a lot of questions, bro. Like, this isn't even like a how can I help get started? Like, what can I do? It's just like you're just asking me to ask shit now." Excuse the French, but it's good to stay curious, but you have to keep in mind it's better to know. If you know and you don't do, then you don't know. To know and not to do is not to know. You cannot get caught in the curiosity learning. That's mental masturbation, people. Like you can't watch videos about trading for 6 hours a day and say you're learning to trade. You have to actually trade, right? Or whatever the case may be in your skill. But um that's all I got.
Hey,
So,
real quick before you popcorn somebody and be thinking of who you're going to popcorn and don't popcorn me because I got 45 seconds to tell you what I'm going to tell you. But in that, I want to challenge your perspective really quick.
Thank you. Yeah, go for it.
on questions.
Okay.
Ultimately, in leadership, the hardest thing to do for all of us,
I made you this.
oh wow, is to slow down to the newest person's level. And normally, people
Wow, that's
either
real.
ask questions out of one of two places. They're either asking you questions because one, they literally don't
And
know,
I
or
also
two,
wanted to show you.
they literally
Yeah.
don't trust you
Hold on,
enough to
guys,
get
sorry.
started yet.
Just wait.
And so they're asking you questions for credibility, for trust, and for understanding.
Okay.
So ultimately, sometimes you got to take that time and answer some people's questions. Sometimes you might be on a call with a person for extra amount of time. But if you actually are intentional about making the impact and not just seeing if they want to buy, it's a different in perspective.
For sure.
From there, you can actually lead the conversation and lead them into action as well. But if they're
Yeah.
really not ready for action, tell them, hey, bro, call me when you're ready.
Right.
Here,
Right. Okay.
here's how much it is. I've answered these questions. Here's how you get the confidence to keep going. You get started, and then you have result after result after failure after failure after result after failure after
Right.
result after failure after failure after failure after result. And there's a whole process. Are you ready to get started? Boom. Just a little, you know what I'm saying? But go ahead, popcorn, who you were going to popcorn.
You're good. I appreciate that insight. That's very true. Because if you're too big for the small things, then you're too small for the big things, right? Marcos, you got the bars on that. That was from you, not me. Um,
Appreciate it. I'm gonna, if that was, y'all mind if I go next? Just because I gotta start getting ready here
I
in
was
a
gonna
few.
say, yeah, go for it, bro. I wanted to
Yeah,
kind of
I
start it
appreciate
off.
you. And one, way to start off the call. It was like super powerful. I appreciate both of y'all and y'all's insights on that. I also related a lot to chapter 10 as I was reading it, just because that tension that you feel is purposeful from what he said, where you are and where you could be. And the only way that you stop growing is if you lose the tension. And in this season of my life, y'all, the tension's been crazy. So when I say, like, sometimes it's a lot on your plate, sometimes it's overwhelming. For me, as I was reading this chapter, all I've ever thought about is how close I have been, not fully recognizing that the tension increases more so right before the switch. And it's kind of wild because every time you think you understand something, God will show you that you really don't. And if you remain open and learning, you'll grow from the lessons that you didn't see coming, but that you were preparing yourself to grow with. And that has been wild in my season. So shout out the rubber band, because all I could think about is a rubber band. It reminded me of the of a bow and arrow, right? Before y'all seen it all the time. You've got to pull that thing back, and there's got to be a large amount of tension between the bow and the arrow so that it takes off with speed in the direction it's going. So the pullbacks, as we like to call them, are purposeful. So what I liked was honestly the first page. He goes, God's gift to us, potential. Our gift to God is developing it. How do we do that? By getting out of our comfort zone, by continually stretching, not only physically, but also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Life begins at the end of our comfort zone, and we go there by stretching. And I finally took like a big leap of faith in stretching and really trusting God about 4 years ago, before Mikhail and I even um, started towards that same vision, but really just believing what God was telling me to do in terms of actually having faith and living in faith versus not. And going after and believing in my capacities and my abilities as a human being to do the things that I see in my brain. And it's wild how in tune he was about communicating some of his experiences, because it made me just reflect throughout my process and where I'm at currently. And all I can say is I've never been more prepared than I am today, because every day I wake up, I aim to be better than I was the previous, regardless of how difficult that might be or how your energy levels might be, what circumstances you're facing. If you just aim to get a little better than you did the previous, even if you don't hit the marks, right, you can aim for the stars and land on the moon. And that's the goal. Always. He says, Most people use only a small fraction of their ability and rarely strive to reach their full potential. Everyone's set on default is what I reminded myself of. So if you feel like you're behind, but you are in the minority of people that are tapping into their ability and striving to get to your full potential, you are not a part of the majority. Congratulations. Like it's actually wild. I think about every time I'm holding the pressure or I now perceive it as I'm holding the privilege. I am privileged enough to go and actually have the opportunity to be worried about how my systems operate so that I can live a life by design versus working my or living my life to just work. I can be present. I seen a powerful video that this man Mikhail sent me yesterday on the gram. And it was a woman speaking about her millionaire year. And she was proclaiming through her video how she is not afraid to admit that she wants a life by design. She wants the options, she wants the freedoms, and she wants to be extremely wealthy, and not in just the ways that we all obviously talk about, but in the ways that most people avoid. Like it's wild. A lot of people want to get wealthy, but they're afraid to have conversations about money. I think the reason, but even those that are like in the midst of actually going after it, what it reminds me of is the fact that if you make the decision to go and live that life, you truly have to be somebody else because the money is just going to identify your shortcomings. It's a tool. Like, and before you get more tools and resources from God, He's going to make sure that you are developed into the person you need to be to have it. And
Right.
so I've been going through a lot, y'all, but I've been preparing myself for this moment in time where I can do more than thinking of. And like Jason and Mateo talked about, like chapter 11 and chapter 10 kind of coincided with one another, is the fact that it's the active doing, like, and not being afraid that you're probably not going to be good at it at first and it's going to take some progress, but you'll eventually get it down. And congrats, y'all. Y'all are literally preparing for the continuation of y'all doing the things you need to get from where you're at to where you really want to be and develop yourself as a person to reach as much of your potential as possible. Because he said it like it's only the mediocre that believe and that have become their best. The mediocre people understand that they only put themselves in places where they can be considered quote unquote best when they're really not because they're not actively growing and developing. You are, right? He says, fact, sadly, a third of high school graduates never read another book for the rest of their lives, and 42% of college graduates similarly never read a book after college. I was
Bro.
like, bro, what a blessing to be not a part of the majority. Like it's lit. It is lit, y'all. Y'all are literally setting yourselves apart from the majority. And if you remind yourself that while it's difficult and it hurts, you'll understand that it's purposeful. And when you go through the trying seasons, you understand that everything that you're thinking, that you're doing, and that you're experiencing is getting you closer to where you want to go. And at first, it's such an uncomfortable feeling, but y'all, I am thriving in it. I'm grateful for the tension, and it's difficult. So he wrote James Allen,
Literally.
your circumstances, your circumstances may be uncongenial, but they shall not long remain. So if you but perceive an ideal and strive to reach it, you cannot travel within and stand still without. Shout out James Allen. Shout out Book Club because we read As a Man Thinketh by that author as well. And there's a reason why, as a leader, John C. Maxwell is referencing another leader and not just himself and his own thoughts. I always think about it as each one teach one, right? If you can use your shortcomings and your lessons and your experiences to help y'all grow and help others understand it's possible for them, then you're serving your purpose and you're reaching your active potential. So one, kudos to everybody, like I just wanted to say. And two, if you're going through some actual difficulties, then it is what it is. Accept it and know and find the positivity within it. So one, I'm gonna let y'all know that I am far from perfect too, and players mess up. Um, and there was this last thing I'll touch on because I wanted to talk about a little bit about what's been going on in my life. But in chapter 11, he says you have to give up to grow up, right? You got to give up to old habits, old ways of thinkings. And to go up to the next level, you've got to really give up who you currently are. And sometimes that's more difficult to do than we like to give credit for because we look for things that we can change outside versus the things that we need to change inside in order to get to where we're going. We hold on to relationships, we hold on to thought processes and environments that allow us to feel like we're secure in this bubble. And it's not until you pop that thing and you get really uncomfortable that you start really seeking where it is you're being called to go versus where it is you think you're supposed to go. And I've accepted that something serious. He says unsuccessful people make bad trade-offs. Average people make few trade-offs, and successful people make good trade-offs. What are you trading? I would much rather trade a negative situation with a pessimistic perspective for a potential situation with a positive perspective. Everything is for my good versus why does this keep happening to me? Right? What type of trade-offs are you making? Not just in terms of your life, but in terms of your perspective, your paradigm, your attitude. And y'all, I'm just recognizing more and more that as you continuously grow, like the problems never just go away. Things are always, life is going to be life in, and you have a decision to make every day of the person that you want to be and who you show up to be. And that's what I was reminded of as I was reading chapters 10 and 11. And then boom. And then 12. Growth is stimulated by asking why. I don't think people do this enough. He says some men see things as they are and ask why. Others dream things that never were and ask why not.
How much is great for?
That, like, bro, that one quote, he could have just ended the chapter.
Can you say that again?
Yes. This is a George Bernard Shaw, and he says, some men see things as they are and ask why. Others dream things that never were and ask why not. And the key is actually understanding why, like not just like why you do certain things, but why certain things happen. Some things are supposed to be beyond your understanding. Why? That's for God to know. Usually every time I continuously dive deeper, then I tell people follow the principle of like what's beneath the obvious, right? You have an obvious, but what's beneath that? What is the intentions behind it? In communication, I've learned that there's 4 levels to it, right? You got what is said, then you also get how it's said, the inflection, the tone, the body language. Then you get why it's being said. What is the intention behind it? And then you have beneath that self-esteem, the type of person who is saying it. Most people don't go and ask the questions why. Why do you not want to do the things you know you need to do? And if you identify the answers, you can become better. And the more so that I ask why, the more I dive deeper into my belief in my God and what he's capable of doing in my life. And when I recognize and I look at the pieces that are on the board and the table, and I always take that eagle eye perspective that we talk about, what I understand is that asking why stimulates your opportunity to grow. And I am better than I've been, and I'm continuously growing because of my curiosity of understanding who I am, whose I am, why I'm here, what's my purpose. And those questions, most people like to avoid them because it takes like an ability to think. Everybody's capable. Most people just unwilling. Like it takes actual brain power. You got to sit and write this stuff down. You got to sit and put yourself in the scenarios. And if you're more willing to put yourself in it, right? And like he said, have that tension. That's where you'll go to the next level. And I think that's what happens when you get around other hungry people that don't know how, but we understand why. We don't know what, but we understand why. And we're curious on how to be more efficient in serving other people to help get that. Like it's real life, it's not for play. Like y'all, we be trading, but I'm not just a trader, right? I'm in MLM, but I'm not just a network marketer. I'm a son of God, bro. And my purpose here and what I do and how I do it and the reasons why I do it is geared because I've done the mental work. I know clearly what that looks like for me. So I'm no longer defined by my failures or my feedback, but I'm driven back and I'm literally understanding what is motivating the actions and the type of person I want to be. That changes the game for me. And I've seen it change the game for so many other people. I be like literally on this call alone in the time that I need y'all, that I've met y'all or have got reconnected with y'all. I see the growth and it's lit because a lot of y'all have been doing the thought process of believing why. And every level, you've got to dig deeper. Okay. So with that being said, family, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And we'll pass this thing over to Amber.
What's up? Hey, everybody. How's it going?
We bless.
Okay, let's get into it. So this call has been super fire, like super nuggets all over every single person. Has just been popping off. And I really, really love it. I'm so grateful to start my Saturday mornings with y'all. I have some work I have to catch up on, and a big part of me wants to not do it and just go play outside in the sun. But I appreciate y'all because this has helped me stay in the zone of just getting my work done. And so the chapter that I wanted to talk about was the first one, the law of the rubber band. And one of the things that it talked about at the end was about goals and like making sure that your goals aren't too far away, like do something that keeps you excited for them. And that's something that I've been experiencing a lot recently is just getting reconnected to the big vision, getting reconnected to, our why and what it is that we're doing because we have been doing this work for a long time. And like when you are consistent and when like you show up, it's simple, it's just not easy. But the tasks that we do every day, they can become repetitive. It's the work, right? It's getting up, it's going to work, it's eating right, drinking water, and every day like builds, and we're human, and I know like especially like us as women, like our moods change, our body change, life happens, and it's not easy to stay in the same mood. It's not easy to like consistently stay motivated, right? That's why they say like motivation is like taking a shower. And I believe like in the chapter really just reminded me of just really understanding the work of how to keep yourself motivated and keep yourself connected to your goals. And so it gave like that segment over being average. And I really, really like that because like that's something that I personally have always resonated with is not desiring to be average. Like I've always desired to do the fucking most. I'm sorry, excuse me, but like to do the most and every single thing that I do, that's just always been who I am. And if I be honest, and I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but growing up, I didn't have people around me who supported that. And it wasn't because of anything, it was because of like a pure survival, like your parents want to protect you, but something that I like a phrase that I heard a lot growing up was don't think you're all that, or don't try to show off too much, or don't just don't think you're all that. And I heard that from like my parents. And so since I was such a foundational belief that got ingrained into my mind, it stopped me from allowing myself to be as great as I could be because I was afraid of hurting other people. Because at the end of the day, like it's natural for us to want to be accepted into our communities and be accepted around the people around us. And so if we believe that us shining to a certain level is going to be a threat to that, especially at a young age, we're not going to allow ourselves to do that because we want to belong. And so now we're out here, we're in our adulthood, and we know better. We know that was a lie and that we can be the best that we could possibly be, and that we are the leaders now. So we can create an environment with people around us who support that, who love that, who encourage that, where there is no jealousy, there is no, putting anybody down. It's just continuously everybody lifting each other up and pushing everybody to be over average. And that's like the one thing that I got in this chapter is really allowing yourself to be the best that you could possibly be. Like if you're good at something and you know that you're good at something, allow yourself to be good at it. And I believe, like, yes, we want to be humble and stuff, but we definitely need to have spaces where we allow ourselves to shine as great as we are. And we allow ourselves to really see ourselves and see our greatness, and have safe spaces like within our friendships, within our communities, where they really, lift you up. And like, that's like the part of the culture that I've been really intentional about creating in Powerful Creator, the culture of just lifting everybody up in their best, because that's something that's really, really important. And that and like that just brings me back to this other law that I talked about, is like the law of your inner circle. Like you're only going to be the average of the 5 people around you. And one time I was hanging out with a millionaire, and she said she was like mentoring me, and she was like talking about that, and she was like, yeah, I can only hang out with people who are doing at least 2 million a year. And when I heard that sentence, like paradigm shift, I was like, bet, same. And so that's why it's good to be around people, because you get to learn, like when you see other people who are operating in that vibration, who hold themselves to a standard, it feels good. It feels good to be around other people who believe in themselves and who are allowing themselves to be who they really, really are. And then I really liked what it said. It was like towards the end of the paragraph, where it was like, being average is basically like the greatest offense that you can make, like towards God and towards your life. And I really, really believe that's true. I believe that like we were meant to be great, and that we were meant to shine as much as we can. And honestly, if we continue to do the work on ourselves, to heal our egos, to heal our shadows, to heal all of those inner traumas, I don't really think, like, I don't think that's a good way to say it. I think you just really have to worry about like being humble. Like if you are genuinely coming from a place of pure love, like when you're good at something, you're good at something, and when you are operating from that genuine place, and only you know that, only you know when you're operating in integrity, like it allows you, our light helps other people shine their light. And that's just something that's been really big on my heart recently. Is just allowing myself, honestly, to be as great as I really am in a lot of things. And I know that every single one of us here are really, really good at things, and we're better than we think that we are. And so it's time that we just step into that. And that is my message for today. And that's what I got from these chapters. So I'm going to click on Roshizi.
Hey, thanks everybody for sharing. I'm in a really loud restaurant, so I don't know if you can hear me. The one quote that I wanted to take out of chapter 10 that stuck out to me a lot was at the beginning. God's given to us potential. Our nature God developing it. And how do we do that? By getting out of our comfort zone, by continually stretching, not only physically, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like it is at the end of our comfort zone. So that stuck out to me a lot, because it's pretty simple. Like we don't, if we stay where we're comfortable, nothing's gonna change. But nothing changes if nothing changes. And people are touched on it a little bit, that idea. And so I just really like that part. Like God gives us gifts, and like if we don't use it, we're doing a disservice to God, to ourselves, to the people around us. And so yeah, I listened to chapter 11 as well, which the law of trade-off. And I think the biggest that stuck out to me from that was just the idea of somebody, I think Martha said it, you have to give up to grow up. Um, and I took that as like to sacrifice certain things, but like not sacrifice values, what's important to me, but more so like sacrificing the things that might be comfortable, might be fun, might be familiar, enjoyable, to what's the word I'm looking for, to pursue things like, and it just reminded me of how I got clean from substances and stopped getting high. And like that was a trade-off that I took to being a better life, be more spiritually connected with God and myself and connected with others. And like, it just really, like that was a major trade-off that I made or took or gave or whatever. And I just been seeing the benefits. And so I didn't get to listen to chapter 12. I don't even know what it's called, but I'll tell you, I can't start here. I can barely hear my own thoughts. I'll call on Shy Town.
What's up, y'all? I just really started the book Marcus put me on this week, so I haven't caught that far up yet. I think I'm only around six. Um, but based on what I've got thus far, because I ain't gonna lie, everybody did a great job, so I can't wait to actually catch up to that part. But what I've gotten thus far is, stay in student mode. Shout out to I forgot who said that first, but stay in student mode because growth is always important. There's no such thing as like being fully grown. And just to touch back on the Bible, that's the reason why we're always going to be children of God and never adults of God. Like we're always students, we're always learning, we always have to grow. And that's just basically what I've gotten from that, as well as like Marcus said, like a rubber band resistance, resilience, knowing the capacity, but knowing that that's not as far as you can go. There's always further that you can go and you can go. So I'm gonna keep it short and sweet and leave it at that. And I'm gonna pass it off to, I don't think Justin spoke, so I'm gonna pass it off to Justin.
Hello. Okay, so for chapter 10, I'm gonna just start reading things off, make it really quick. I learned stretching yourself leads to growth. Starting ugly is okay as long as you're willing to grow also. And realistically, we're as useful as we choose to be. Average to me or to them as well as they explain is taking up space without any purpose, and being average also leads to being forgotten. Potential is also stretchable. There's no limits to it. And comfort zone also adds to mediocrity. And then I also resonated with the quote where they said there's too many that are dead unofficially. And that kind of like spoke very loud to me. I felt like that was representative of a lot of people's dreams. Like a lot of people think, but they're not there yet because they like they don't realize that they're killing it themselves. And then I wrote down set goals you can reach just barely so that you're always aiming higher than you normally could. That's for myself. Chapter 11, I learned trade-offs. You got to give up to grow. Letting go of things you love for good chances is also important. And successful people know as well when to do it, not just to do it without purpose. There also are there also are bad trade-offs as well. Say for example, doing something like over chilling or something like that. Like things of the sort that distract rather than add to what you're using the trade-off for without purpose. Trade-offs aren't perfect and they can't always fix your problems as well. And immediate gratification does slow down growth. Then chapter 12 for the law of curiosity. Why is important for me because as of right now, I'm trying to get my license for CDL, and I realize like I'm taking these questions and I'm trying to figure out why that I'm not getting it right. And I realized when I started asking myself why is this way and why is that way, I started getting all my stuff correct and it started like clicking in my brain and I started memorizing everything. So I learned that curiosity is the source of motivation. And I just wrote down the steps. first you got to believe that you can be curious. You got to have a beginner's mindset, take it one step at a time, and don't be afraid to feel like you're just starting. I struggle with that sometimes. Um, make why your favorite word, which I'm applying now. Seek out other curious people. Like I remember when I first joined, like Mateo, me and Mateo, we was well, I asked Mateo a lot of questions, but then Mateo had a lot of questions as well too. Oh, good job, Jason. Jason. No, I'm proud of you. And yeah, I remember like even the person who brought me into TGF, he was very curious. So I just felt really good with having a learning curve as well. Learn something new every day and stay attentive. Partake in the fruit of failure. I don't particularly like this, but you got to do it to grow. You got to, like, it's certain things that you can't forget that actually do affect you on a grand scale in the future. Stop looking for the right answer or perfection. There's no perfection in anything. That as well. I struggle with stressing myself out time over and over and getting over myself. Literally what I just said. Getting out the box and enjoying life. And that is it. Yep. Did I do good? I don't know.
Amazing, wonderful.
You killed it, brother.
Snap, G, snap. You can popcorn, whoever, play up.
Let me see. Imani. Did Imani go? No? All right, so I'll try and popcorn if you're available, Imani.
Hey y'all, good morning.
Good morning.
You did great, by the way. Woo! Hey, I loved it. Loved your take on it. I think curiosity was my favorite chapter this week. Curiosity reminds me of my childhood, where you are those limits, because he talks about that like self-limiting beliefs and things that we like genuinely believe is true, which can be like the thing that stops us from growing and gaining all that potential that we should not waste, because clearly it's like how they said in chapter 10. Oh my gosh, what did he say about like God? Like the greatest gift we can give God is living up to our highest potential. And when I feel like in childhood, it was so much easier to see the dreams and not have anything. Those self-limiting beliefs weren't in place just yet. And it's things you pick up growing up and kind of figuring out how the world works. But having curiosity can take you to places that you might not have ever been. So in the book, he talks about when he was at, I kind of felt bad, but I feel like the older you get, yeah, like your knee's gonna start hurting. So he didn't want to go on the excursion because his knee, he was like, I'm gonna go back to the room, soak my knee, and I'm just gonna turn in. But instead, he saw the curiosity of the other travelers, and he was like, you know what? Let's do it. So he climbed up that mountain, he climbed back down, and he said it was worth it. It's kind of funny because it's like a little bit of FOMO too. It's like, am I gonna miss out on something that's really extraordinary, or should I go back to the room? So the curiosity is really important for just like the creative flow. You can allow yourself to, I guess, like move in like light. It's more lighthearted. It's fun. That's how I see curiosity. So it's something that's always been really special in my creative mind. But that's all I have time for today. So I don't know who else. Let me see. I think everybody went except Mikkel, right? Yes. Okay, Mikkel, I'm gonna pass it to you.
Mr. Still, are you there? And he arrives.
Hold on. Now I'm Heather. What's up, my people?
Drop some fire bars, fire alarms going off.
Fire alarms going off. Fire alarms. Pew! No, I'm playing. What's up, y'all? No, today has been phenomenal. I ain't gonna lie to you. These 3 chapters were also phenomenal. In multiple ways. Like as Marcus said, it's literally been right on time. It's kind of wild. So Justin, I appreciate you for snapping. Amber snapped real quick and brief. Marcus snapped. Mateo snapped. Jason snapped. Roshizi snapped. Imani came out here and snapped. I appreciate y'all. For real, not for play. This book for me and this past week, obviously, as Marcus said, there's been a lot of things going on in life. There's been a lot of things going on in business. And ultimately, these questions are honestly something that, one, makes me thankful to be a part of what we have, but also, two, like, it's had me in a different space this past week. And when I look at the recap as we get to today of this past week's reading, like, it was literally right on time, y'all, with how I really went through a mental struggle figuring out what exactly was the next move as we progress going forward and the types of thought processes that had to happen in order to get there. And in that, like, even sometimes in our current niche and career space, when it comes to the direct sales space, I felt like there was a time where I kind of lost that tension between where I actually could be and wanted to be within the direct sales space for a long period of time. And in that season, I literally didn't know what that was because I'd never felt it before. I had never actually dove into the awareness of feeling it before as well. And I don't know, it's just been a different season as I've been making different choices and stretching. Yeah.
Can you help me put them out?
Yes, I can. I don't know why I almost thought about saying no, Brooklyn, but yes, of course. Grab me a cup, boo. Where's your cup?
There's no more.
Mom put it away?
Yeah.
My bad, y'all. One moment.
There's someone here.
It's okay. Here, you can use this one. Here. Boom. Boom.
I can do the sugar.
Okay. Yep. You know how to do it. Bow. Go ahead. Put it in there, girl. Go ahead. But yeah, y'all. I mean, when it comes to notes, first chapter, Law of the Rubber Band. I've always talked about this. The brain is like a rubber band. The more it stretches, the more you grow. It cannot stretch back to its original size as well. Literally, once you stretch a rubber band, it's just kind of big and loose. That's how your brain goes. And when you think bigger, you can move bigger, you can do bigger. And ultimately, you've got to have that tension, though, to be like useful. If that tension breaks, you're literally just like a stretchy string, one point to one point. You don't actually have fulfillment. You don't have that full circle of being at rubber band anymore. There's actually no use for you unless I'm going to use you to tie something, but more than likely you'll just break again. So in that, it's like when you actually like look at that analogy, and I looked at just what I was reading, I was like, yo, most people, they naturally resist stretching in fear of breaking, but growth literally demands that stretch. Like, it's actually important. The gap between where you are, where you want to go is actually important, but you stretching yourself, it's actually important. And I don't think a lot of people really realize how important that stretching is. So I'm just grateful that we've implemented systems where that stretching is literally like, no matter what, it happens. And for me, when I was growing up, I related to John in a way, and I still do, because the reason I be up all night long and low-key up bright and early with the fam most days is because I be afraid to miss stuff, knowing damn well it ain't really that much going on unless I create something that's going on in my calendar. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. But even as a kid, like, I'm wanting to wake up at the crack of dawn and get to school first before any of my friends just to make sure I don't miss one piece of the action. I used to literally walk to my school an hour beforehand and just sit in between the doors at the back of my school just to leave my crib and make sure I didn't miss nothing outside before anybody else would get to the school. I'm talking, I would beat the teachers. It's crazy. But I literally had that exact same curiosity. And when he was talking about that in the next chapter, I was like, yo, that for me, or excuse me, not in the next chapter, but in the last chapter, that for me, like, yo, that's literally my whole life. I'm just curious. When you get to know me and as we continue to go forward, as we continue to stretch, as we continue to hit our bigger goals, I look at TGF, and I do this often. Whenever me and Marcus hop on a call, whenever anybody and I hop on a call, I'll literally be like, yo, like, how can we make this thing better? how did this happen? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Why'd they react like this? Here's how we can do this going forward. Here's a challenge of perspective we can have. As Marcus said, we always have like an eagle eye perspective. So like all of this, when it comes to stimulating your growth, stimulating your mind, all of this, when it comes to actually learning the trade-offs, it just all comes down to stretching yourself. And in those last points where he went through the 10 points of being curious, I felt like they kind of wrapped up all of this, because in order to be curious, you have to say no to some things in order to say yes to some things. While you're saying yes to your curiosity of asking why and diving into that answer, you might say no to hanging out. Period. While you're saying yes to figuring out why and how people are having success in one area of a business that you want to run in, you might have to put down another area of business and stop running in that area in order to actually apply your full focus. You might have to miss a call. You might have to miss an event. You might have to miss a birthday party. You might have to miss a vacation. You might have to miss whatever the case may be, just that moment in that time. You might have to miss whatever fun moments you're about to have. Like, and those are the small, like, moments of decision and choices where instead of compromising, you made a choice to make a change. Just a different seed. And what most people do when they start to quit is those small compromises, they literally lead up to them quitting on whatever skill set, whatever stretch that they were applying in their life. Those are the things that lead them up to those moments in quitting. It literally comes down to them just having those small compromises, one after one, after one, after one, after one, after one. And it's literally like them working up the muscle to be like, you know what? I'm going to compromise my entire vision and I'm going to stay where I'm at. I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing because this ain't working. And ultimately, if you continuously stay around curious people, if you continuously stretch yourself, if you continuously make choices to actually make a change and do the little things, even though sometimes you may not feel like doing them, in that, I feel like you truly can, one, build a curiosity that sets your soul on fire for the life that you live as you continuously work that bone. You'll start to look at and perceive the life that you live completely different, and you'll love the life that you live while also being willing to give up the parts of your life that you're living in order to get the parts that you're desiring as well. It's like loving what you lost instead of missing it. And there were some bars that I just wanted to go over that I screenshotted in the process of him going through those 10 joints real quick, because I know Justin just went over a few of them. But the single greatest difference between curious, growing people and those who aren't is literally the belief that they can grow and change. First, you got to believe. Like when it comes to people, they fail to reach their potential. This is right from the book. They fail to reach their potential not because they lack capacity, but because they're unwilling to expand their beliefs and break new ground. We cannot perform outwardly in a way that is not consistent with how we think inwardly. These are things that we literally have been saying all the time. You cannot be what you believe that you aren't. So in that, you have to be willing to challenge your own perspective, and that is literally how you will grow. It's not always going to be somebody else challenging it for you. But that's also why it's good to be in those spaces, because when you hear somebody else with a different perspective, it allows you to give yourself space to think those thoughts and ask yourself those different kind of questions, and then ask the reason why. And then from there, grow into the next space. That's low key like the definition of a mastermind. It's literally the reason why we created this space. So shout out y'all for being here. Also, my greatest strength, this was fire. My greatest strength as a consultant is to be ignorant and ask a few questions. That was a bar by Peter Drucker in the middle of the book. But ultimately, when you approach everything as a beginner's mindset, like kind of like how we were talking about dude asking questions earlier with Mateo, like if you approach everything with that same type of beginner's mindset, you can get on the same level with somebody. And if you can get on the same level with somebody, you can literally guide them in the direction that they want to go, because you can relate to them and get into their perception and way of life if you can just put your brain back there. So ultimately, as a consultant, when you're asking people about their business, when you're asking people exactly where they want to go, what they want to do, you're establishing the facts, yes, but you're also getting down to a level of understanding and a base level and building a foundation with that client, with that person, to be like, okay, now that I fully know and feel exactly where you're at and what exactly you got going on, here are the steps that I would take as well in that process. And that's why they say, like, if you're afraid to lead people, become a mentor. Like, if you're afraid to lead a group, lead one. That's it, with your experiences, with your outlook. And that's all that is. And ultimately, that is literally like what we've had the intention of, like how we've created all the onboarding systems and the quick starts and everything that we've all done together, all the exercises that have been the process of building TGF for the last few years that you guys have been a part of. Like, all of those processes have been intentional, to get people to think along these lines. Like, if I can't lead, let me mentor one so I can build up the strength in leading. And that is ultimately, it starts with that curiosity, and that's the willingness to actually go through the process. And if you don't have the willingness to go through the process, but the desire for the result, you will continuously run around in circles and not do the little things and not plug into the systems, nor create your own ever, because you're not getting out of your own way to get into the beginner's mindset. So in that, all of these things, even when it comes to a business perspective, like, you should really understand forward and backwards why. And that's one of the biggest questions I always ask in between the lines of reading these books. It's actually lit. So he said, another bar, experience is not the best teacher. Evaluated experience is. You literally got to sit back and ask yourself why. Get the AI companion and put it on every Zoom call that you get on, so that you get a detailed description of everything that actually happens afterwards. Get the catch me up joint, throw that thing into your notes, or actually transcribe the entire thing like Amber be doing. Like, take real live notes on what you're going through and the experiences that you're having, the conversations that you're having. Take mental notes so that you can literally zoom out when you get off that call and be like, damn, I remember when they thought this and they said this, and then it made me think this, and then I felt like this was actually moving me in the direction to go this way. Why? And then once you start connecting these dots going backwards more often in your life, you'll understand exactly where you're headed. And you'll be able to literally get up on, like, it's damn near like you're having a conversation with yourself as a client. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just establishing the trust and building the foundation with yourself to understand clearly exactly where you want to go and leading yourself there. But you've got to take that intentional time to evaluate your experience. And then this next one was fire. Me and Marcus actually spoke about this earlier this week. Partake in the fruit of failure. I was like, yo, I'm trying to fail fast. Like, as many times as we can mess up the process in order to get it right, I'm with it. We can think outside the box. We can do this shit completely different. We're going to literally change the entire game with how we're about to do things. But in that, like, let's fail as fast as possible and let's just get into action. And that's exactly where we've been. We're not looking for the right answer. We're not doing none of that. But in the process, we're like, bro, how can we make things better as we move forward? Because the world is shifting and we understand the shift because we've been connecting the dots looking backwards. So now we're starting to intentionally guesstimate what it's going to look like going forward. How can we intentionally make some changes? And so in that, it leads me right into number 7, stop looking for the right answer. I was like, that's a bar. How can we make it better if it ain't broke? What is likely to break in the future? And if it ain't broke, how long will it serve? As the world changes and as things shift, how can we make it better then? I loved what he talked about with everything that he's doing with Equip, because Equip reminds me of TGF, except we got a little bit different. Let's just call it different. I ain't going to call it more because we're not better than anybody, but ain't nobody better than us either. But different type of value. It really reminds me of what we've got going on in a different aspect. But in that, it literally just comes down to, we looked at everything that everybody else was doing in the community space, in the leadership space, in the affiliate marketing space, and just wanted to do things a little bit different. And that's why we've established what I like to call a unicorn here. But in that, as we are a unicorn in the space, we literally got to get over ourselves and understand that we're not that important. And it's literally about the mission. It's about the trail, that rainbow that the unicorn leaves whenever it's running. That's what it's about. That's what makes it feel magical, or else it would just be a horse with a horn. Period. So in that, in order to make us really be different, it's literally just about the process, and it's not getting too full of what we've got going on, but it's literally about the mission of what we've got going on and consistently staying in action. Period. We're already thinking outside the box. We're already enjoying this process because every time we hop on calls with each other, we vibing, we joking. This is the reason why we kick it off with music. You know what I'm saying? Like, in this whole process of him going throughout the rules, of applying the law of curiosity and how it actually works in your life, we've implemented these systems. Now it's just about literally being intentional because we're aware. So that's the reason why we read books like this. I love this. And the last thing that he talked about when it comes to applying the law, think of 3 to 5 major areas in your life where you focus most of your time and energy, and start asking yourself intentional questions. How are you in those areas? Do you see yourself as an expert or a beginner? Are you afraid to fail or you're not afraid to fail? One of the greatest obstacles in curiosity is learning. The reluctance to look, the obstacles to curiosity and learning is the reluctance to look foolish in the eyes of other people. When he talks about getting over yourself, it's not just thinking that you're more important, but it's literally getting over the fact that nobody's looking at you, bro. You realize in 20 years, you'll realize that nobody was paying attention to anything that you have going on right now. And you're over here afraid of looking stupid to whom? I don't know. But if you take an eagle-eye perspective, if you ain't doing shit right now in your life, you look very stupid to yourself. Like if you were to go and write a book about your life and then talk about this season that you've been going on right now, how long would the chapter be of the amount of days that you spent doing the same shit that you've been doing? I bet it'd be pretty short, just because you'd be like, that chapter in my story was not all that important. Let me move on forward to the important parts where it really happened with some change. Like ultimately, y'all, truly, like this season of your life, I loved what he talked about with God. God's greatest gift to us is our potential. Our gift back to God is the development of it. And the only way that you can develop is by doing shit, period. So you literally got to get out of your own way. Stop worrying about what everybody else is thinking, doing. You're not competing with anybody. You are literally creating a whole vision that God gave you, and nobody else is paying attention because nobody else saw it. The only people that are paying attention to you are so zoomed into your life that they're literally just looking at what you are doing. They're not looking at the bigger picture. They're not seeing the vision. Average people, they base their actions upon circumstances and what they can see. Above average people base their circumstances literally around what they can see in their mind's eye. There's a difference in vision, truly. There's sight, and it's different. That's why they're two different words, period. So in that, I truly love this book. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody's perspectives. Honestly, this stuff was fire. No lie. It's crazy. Last thing I say when it comes to curiosity, if you need to work the bone, do something new. Sign up for something. Go sign up for a class. Go sit down for an interview at a job that you would never take. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever the case may be. Like literally go do something. Go put yourself in an arena. Go put yourself in a room. Last night I put myself in a parking lot with a whole bunch of music artists and didn't know what I was about to get into, but ended up having some 4-figure conversations about to be 5-figure conversations. So in that, you just literally go apply yourself, go put yourself in new areas with new people, with new experiences. And as you go and do that, just continuously be intentional and ask yourself how these things are happening, why these things are happening, why you're feeling the ways that you do. And as you continuously develop more and more clarity, let's go to work, period. I'm pretty sure there's more chapters in this book. Let me slide back here. Marcus, if you are still there, let me know if we're just going to wrap this thing up. I'm pretty sure we are because it's really just 3 chapters left, 13 through 15.
Yes.
And then there's newsletters, notes.
Yes.
I got a whole bunch of stuff on the ebook.
13,
Y'all read that too?
13, 14, and 15. It's just the rest of the book, I believe.
Yeah. So we going to wrap this thing up. This is crazy. This book has been like a real live life experience. Hasn't even felt like a book as I've read it because of how my life has gone in this season that we've been reading it. So in that, I'm kind of sad to close this thing out. It's crazy. Hey, y'all, please do me a solid. Tell somebody about this thing. For real. Like, literally today, tell somebody about what you shared about on Book Club. Try and share that experience. You ain't even got to invite them. It's all good. Give them your book or something. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. You got access to the ebook. It's okay. Everybody's got access to the digital library now. So in that, give them access to your ebook. It's in there. Or give them access to the ebook. Give them your book, whatever. But share this knowledge. I believe that we can make an impact if we actually start to truly care about one another in all of our life, not just the ones who are like down to do this part. Period. Even if they don't read it for years, somebody gave Marcus the seven spiritual. His mama gave him seven spiritual laws of success a long time before I told his ass to read it. He was reading something else. I don't remember how long it was before, but she gave it to him regardless. Like, give your people the resources, put your people in position. You don't know when or how it'll change their life, period, point blank. So I challenge everybody to find somebody new today, make an impact. I love y'all. We wrapping it up. I'll see y'all next week. Gang. Oh, yeah, you're right. I guess we should share that, huh? Marcus?
It's gonna be Rich Dad Poor Dad.
We back into the basics of financial literacy, y'all. We back.
So on next
Hey,
Saturday,
we might even throw some cool things on this time. I was low key thinking about like, can we make this cool? And low key, I found out that you can play like the cash flow game virtually, I'm pretty sure. So we low key should start the game together as we're reading.
What'd you say, Amber? Real quick. Sorry.
Ooh.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
okay. After that, it's Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yes. And honestly, the reason why we read that book yearly, y'all, is because it's one of the most foundational financial literacy books. So if you have anybody, your sisters, your brothers, your aunties, and your uncles, you should definitely let them know that they should hop on and read with you. Just it's the invite, you know what I'm saying? And that one book can honestly change a paradigm of a load of things that lead to an entirely different lifestyle. I've seen it happen with my family. It's actually wild. So I highly recommend, especially if you got younger siblings, you know what I'm saying, invite them out and set them up for success. Nieces and nephews, set them up for success. Like as you're reading that book, then when it comes around, you could also be having these type of conversations about those principles with the people you love and care about most. Sometimes it won't catch on, but most of the time it will. So I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. And yeah, we'll brainstorm some cool ideas to make it fun. God bless you guys. And as always, see you at the top. Peace.